So hi guys, welcome back to the Library of Alexandria. And today guys, I will be doing something that I have not done since like my first months on BookTube. And that is reviewing a Malazan book. And so today it's going to be Boosh. That's the wrong side. And so today it's going to be Boosh, The God Is Not Willing, by Steven Erickson. This is book one of the Witness Trilogy. So, I have not reviewed a Malazan book on my channel since, I think, Memories of Ice. I filmed, but didn't edit, a Return of the Crimson Guard review, Toll the Hounds, and Dust of Dreams. And I think they're lost to the ether. It's possible they're on my external hard drive, but I definitely never put those out. So, I'm going to film one, and we'll see if I ever do another one again, on if people, like, get mad. Let me go ahead. Come in real quick. If you listen to my whole review, and the only thing that you can find to say is to comment on the way that I pronounce crap in here, leave me alone. I'm going to say it how I want to say it, regardless, without wasting any more time.
Let's get down to business.
Let's talk about The God Is Not Willing. So, I wanted to read this really bad because Witness obviously refers to Karsa Orlong. So, before I go ahead and get started, I'm gonna talk spoilers about this book. I don't really think anybody's watching this to see if they should pick it up. Either you know you like Malazan, or you don't. So, toward the end especially, I'll be talking in pretty heavy spoilers. Here at the beginning, not really. I'm just going to talk about what it's about. But toward the end, there's some really cool crap that happens, and I'm definitely going to talk about that, because otherwise this review is not complete. So, stay around if you want, or not. Most of you probably have read this book because you're huge Malazan fans like myself. So, that's fine. But, just be aware of that. To start with, the Witness Trilogy, itself, if you have read, any of the books where you hear Witness, you know who it's about. It's about friggin' Karsa Orlong. So I got this book, hoping I actually knew he wasn't in it, but I'm like, Karsa's gonna come. Philip just told me that he thinks Erickson said that Karsa is not in the second book either. Where's Karsa frickin' Orlong? Like, Karsa is one of my favorite characters from the original 10, and he's not even in this. Though, just like how certain characters in, say, Mistborn, their presence looms large, even if they're not in all of the books, people's legacy looms large, and that is the same way here in The God Is Not Willing. So this takes place 10 years after the original 10 in Northern Guinevere, and we haven't been to Northern Guinevere since... I guess since House of Chains, and that first book of House of Chains where we follow young Karsa leading his warband down into Silver Lake. And so there's a lot of Marines in this book, and that's good, because I love the Marine and military action and stuff. And so there's a legion of Malazan Marines heading to Silver Lake because the entire settlement has been massacred. And it's been massacred by the descendants of the enslaved Teblor tribes. So it's been completely wiped out. There is a war leader who is kind of uniting the Teblor tribes that are also fleeing, like, the melting of the Great Glaciers, north of them. It's going to cause this huge, massive floods. There's mass exodus, so they're fleeing. And so, yeah, Malazans are on the way to investigate because, can't massacre a freaking Imperial garrison. And so this also sees, as well as the return of the Teblor, whom we have not seen since House of Chains, it's also the return of the Jheck, which we haven't really seen since the Jheck were in Midnight Tides. Were there some Jheck at Cripple God? I don't know. We haven't seen much of the Jheck regardless in the original 10 Books of the Fallen. And so there's all these peoples who are, fleeing ahead of the cracking ice, though I think only the Teblor really know about it. And so there's a lot of great things that we usually see from Erickson in here. There's awesome named Marines. I'm going to go ahead and say that there's return of freaking Spindle and his weird hair shirt and freaking animals out. There's tons of Marine banter, including one of the funniest scenes in Malazan. And yes, I am including any scene with Pust or Krupp. The Marines are sitting around and they're talking about the mayor and his, like, ugly wife or something. I forget, but I laughed out loud when reading that scene. I don't know why. It was just so freaking funny. Just the dialogue was very, it was hilarious. One of the issues I had with this novel, I love Malazan novels, and it just takes a little while for me to hit my stride with Erickson's writing. It's not that it's bad, it's just I can't just kind of be distracted while reading it. And so even though this isn't a 1,200-page book like Toll the Hounds or Dust of Dreams, it did take me a little while to get through because I also have to acclimate to the new characters and everything else that's going on, because there's a lot of character names and there's a lot of things happening, especially when we start dealing with the Warrens and the Gods and the Holds and all that stuff, that is just really hard for me to grasp on first pass. This is why there is no Malazan book that has not improved upon a reread for me. I liked every single Malazan book the second time I read it better than when the first time I read it. I despised House of Chains the first time I read it. Hated Karsa. Least favorite character. Second time I went through, couldn't wait to read that opening part. And so acclimating these people, I'm like, who are these people? I don't know these guys. Like, where are my boys? And Spindle is fine, but like Spindle's not one of my faves. So it does take a little while to get acclimated to all of the new Marines before they really kind of establish their own personality. I mean, the obvious one is Stillwater. Everyone mentions Stillwater. She is an assassin mage and like pretends like she's neither. I think she acts like she's not a wizard, she acts like she's not an assassin, or both. Whatever. Everyone knows that she is, but she pretends like she's not. She's the main, really the main Marine that we get a lot of POV of. And she's hilarious, but they all took a little while to grow on me. And so the title of this book, The God Is Not Willing, at least on the surface, comes from the fact that literally the god of the god of like the Teblor, Karsa, who has his exploits and he's basically ascended, except that he's not willing. He refuses to ascend. Instead, he literally lives in a little hut outside Darujistan and won't go home and won't ascend. Like his daughters, the ones that he got from assaulting people in his youth on that raid in House of Chains, they went and visited him and said, hey, you need to do something. And he's like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. Because he's freaking Karsa Orlong, and you're not going to tell him what to do. And so the fact that Karsa looms large over the proceedings. He is the specter in the background of what everyone is doing, of everyone's conversation. Everything we are dealing with has been touched or tainted, or is the result of Karsa's massacre all those years ago when he led his tiny warband down from the Teblor lands and just, wrecked everything. And so this book looks a lot and deals with and made me think about the fact that how we often, and especially in our society today, where literally we deify the self right now in modern, we live in a society.
We're living in a society.
Like we do. And you can say we don't, but we freaking do. We have a tendency to lose sight of the consequences of our actions, even small ones. We don't think about the lasting effect that the things that we do have. And that's because we think about ourselves more than we think about other people. And I'm not talking about you starving and dying because you gave your last whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. You can take care of yourself and also be cognizant of other people, and you know that. But we tend to not think about how what we do, what we say, has not just instant consequences, but long and far-reaching consequences. We tend to go in, we affect people's lives, and then we move on, and we never give it another thought. And that's Karsa. Karsa, when he was young, rolled down into the Silver Lake area and profoundly affected everyone's life, and never thought about it again, other than oh, well, I'm older than that. But never gave the people a second thought, never went back, never checked on anybody, because you know what? He is not willing to do that. And so this book really got me thinking about the ripples that we all make in each other's lives. And I think about, in a positive way, I think about like the booktube community, just the ripples that go out. I experienced this after my car accident. Just people who, I didn't realize that I had made a difference. Just an outpouring of stuff, like with my students as well. That's the ripple effect. So it's both good and bad, and oftentimes we don't think about the good ways that our actions ripple out and affect other people, the whole pay it forward type thing. And so one of the main consequences of Karsa's action is his son, Rant, who is this young Teblor who everyone throws rocks at, and he's huge and he's bigger than everybody, and he is forced to leave the settlement through stuff that I'm not going to talk about. You can go ahead and read it. And he ends up heading towards Teblor lands to join the other Teblor, because he is told and figures out that he's a Teblor. And one of his very first friend, the first person he meets out of the settlement, is Damask, who, if you'll recall from House of Chains, was one of the frickin' slavers. And so what I love about this book is that if you have read House of Chains and then you come back and read this, how it takes despicable characters like Damask from frickin' House of Chains that you despise and have a more nuanced portrayal of them here all these years later in The God Is Not Willing, to where people change. They turn over a new leaf. They try to find redemption and may or may not find it, but at least are seeking for some way to kind of atone for these heinous acts they may have committed in the past. Do you know who we don't see trying to atone for his heinous actions in the past? Freaking Karsa. Karsa! Tell someone you're sorry. And so if you are a fan of that, like that the redemption for, despicable people, this is the book for you. Same thing if you like found family. The Marines are always fantastic found family, especially in this book as well, though they're not in kind of the long-term peril as the Bone Hunters from the main series. But also, the found family with Rant and the two Jheck and Damask, it's just, it's so heartwarming, because Rant is huge and incredibly deadly, but also does feel like, in many, many ways, a child and a reckless, impetuous teenager. I'll talk about that in a second. But these are not only, it's not just his found family, they're not just friends, they're like three different fathers to him when he did not have a father. Like, no one in the village took up the job, and, his father's Karsa Orlong, who's sitting in his hut, playing skip-bow with Samar Dev and saying, "Quiet witch, skip-bow." Like, he's not doing anything. Though one of my favorite lines does have to do with, again, Karsa's everywhere. I think one of the Teblor tells him something, because he's about to, Rant is about to have a fit, and he's like, hey, you need to do as your dad does. And Rant goes, "Which is?" And it, bides his time. Which, I love that. I just love the callback to, it reminds me of everything that Karsa does in the first 10 books. Karsa does bide his time. Karsa will wait. He may not like it, but Karsa will wait. He will bide his time, and then when he is good and ready, something will happen. That's probably why, maybe he'll be good and ready to ascend at some point, or maybe he never will. We won't even see him in this trilogy. And so one of the most impetuous things that Rant does is he literally says he is going to go. When this is done, he is going to go to Darujistan, to that little hut, and he's going to find and confront his dad, Karsa, and he's going to demand that he answer for his crimes. And guess what? If Rant doesn't like the answer, he's gonna kill him. He's gonna kill Karsa Orlong. And I'm reading that, I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're not, Rant. You're not. He's just gonna put his sword through your head. You're not even gonna see it coming, and you're gonna be dead. Please do not do that. Oh, I hope so badly that Erickson is not setting up that very thing. But I would not be surprised if we follow Rant through 2 books, and in the third one, he threatens Karsa, and Karsa just wrecks him. Do not go to Karsa and threaten. I can't not laugh. Every time I think about it, that is the most teenage, you are not thinking about the consequences. Don't be a dummy. But Rant, as he's discovering more and more, as he realizes how mean people were to him in the human village, and how, cruel the Teblor are to him because he's a half-breed, we start to see so much anger coming out in Rant, and we see the anger that he has when his innocence is gone, when he finally understands how the world works, understand what was done to him when he was young, or at the beginning of the book, and he, that anger starts to fester. And we see Rant and the people around him try to help him keep control of this. And this is in contrast to the Teblor's war leader, the ones who is leading the Teblor, in the exodus down to just kill all the humans and everything. And his anger, he is already completely corrupted by it. It has consumed him so much. They say in the book that it's so all-consuming that he views his anger as a strength. And so he can only take any joy if he's making other people miserable. It can't take delight. Any kind of joy in the world has to take it in other people's miserable. And as someone who used to be very, very just consumed with anger, who also was only happy when others were miserable, I can tell you that is a horrible, horrible place to be. And that really hit home with me, and I feel bad for the Teblor leader, and I'm rooting for Rant to not let his anger take him to that place, because that's who I was, and I'm not that way anymore, and I never want to be that way again. So, if you have heard anybody, or, I mean, you've obviously read Malazan Book of the Falling if you're watching this, or you just don't care about spoilers. Everyone in Malazan talks about the main theme being compassion. And yeah, we do see that, and they say it a whole bunch in like the later books, and then, you know, the big thing in book 3, etc. I get it. It's more prevalent and on display in this. It was so unexpected how when the water is coming down, the Malazan Marines and the mages, they protect the Jheck and the Teblor, who were literally in the process of coming down to murder all of them. The fact that they try to protect them from that flood, it's just like, I just got chills thinking about it right now. Like, it is so profound, and it is incredibly unexpected. I had to read it again to make sure I understood what happened. I love that display of compassion. That's what they do. They're the Marines. That's what they do. Like, and it's just so amazing how they lose their own men trying to do it because the bad guys, the Teblor and the Jheck, don't understand what's going on. So people are being killed while they're trying to help them, and they still do it. And it is an incredible achievement of human kindness. And Erickson just does a fantastic job with that section. And another spoiler, right before that section, I'm just go ahead and say I squealed with delight when I realized the misinformation about the Moranth munitions. I was like, oh man, they're out of munitions. I'm so sad because I love the munitions and the sappers. And then when everything blows up because they had deliberately been spreading a misinformation campaign, makes me so freaking happy. Like, that was so well done. I completely missed it. And then, just let me go ahead and say, the fact that because of this act of compassion, when the dust settles, and they induct some of the flippin' Teblor into the Malazan Marines, I'm not sure I could be more excited than at the possibility of Teblor Marines. Are you kidding me? I don't know how Erickson could have made something that makes me more excited. So I'm so excited about that. And then on a wider scale, there's this idea, this self-important idea, that our conflict, again, what's going on with our lives, is really the most important. And we see that, like, how not true that is, how small even a regional conflict can be, where, someone 400 miles away has no idea what's even going on. Like, for you, it's life and death. Like, it literally life and death. But in the grand scheme of things, like people, in the next country over has no idea what's going on. So it's obviously not that important to the global cosmic scale of things. And on that note as well, the idea that no matter how powerful, no matter how expansionist your empire, no matter how long you rule for, eventually, nature will reclaim any and all conquest. Nature and time are the two forces that it does not matter. It doesn't matter who you are, how powerful, how well you did this. It does not matter. It's going to take you. So there you have it. So, I really enjoyed this book. There's a lot going on, like a lot of different stuff. I know for a fact I will enjoy this book more on reread, because now I'm familiar with everybody. I don't have to reacclimate. That's, again, been my experience with every Malazan book up to this point. I am really excited to see the next book. I'm not really sure where it's going to go, because this one is really kind of self-contained with everything that happens in it. Though, I guess I know where it's going to go, but regardless. This is not one of my favorite Malazan books, at least not yet. And there is a battle, but there's nothing like Kapustan or Yigatan. It is blessedly free of the Andy and the Eater and the Leosan. Glory be. So I loved this book. I can't wait for the next one. So, you guys have probably read it. What do you think? Where does this stack up in your Malazan rankings? Are you also pumped for book 2? What did you think of freaking Teblor Marines? I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So anyway, guys, that is it for me for today. As always, information about my Patreon and Discord is down in the descriptions, and I'll see you next time, guys.
Witness.